All. So a few days ago, actually looks like exactly 22 hours ago, I posted a poll in which I asked, what kind of live stream do you want to see? Working on setting up an interview with the creator of Evermorph Dungeon, so that'll be next, but after that, these are what I have in the works. And 44% of you said the state of the TTRPG landscape right now. So we're going to do exactly that. I'm joined with Bear and Cybermind, but we're also going to take a look at a survey by Wizards of the Coast, but we'll do that in just a little bit. For now, let's get back to our panelists. Bear,
Hello.
welcome back.
Thank you.
And
Long time no
Cybermind,
see.
welcome to the show. So the state of the tabletop role-playing, that's what it stands for, TTRPG, tabletop role-playing game. That hasn't changed, has it?
Well, I fundamentally object to the use of that term because we were here first and we used to call computer games CRPGs.
Correct.
And then somehow the millennials took over that thing with RPGs. And now, you know what? I think rocket-propelled grenades needs to make a case for being the first and leave it at that.
It's fair enough. It's a very wild... it's a wild time that we're seeing in the role-playing landscape at the moment. There are lots of options, and we're also being joined by the Goths in Rome.
Long time no see.
Hey, Goth.
Hello there, gentlemen.
Long time no see. How you been, man?
Normally, folks, I would keep the chat running, on there, but because and we'll jump back and forth because I do want to have a few folks. And here's Sword and Stone saying, good day, kids. So I'm glad you're actually able to make it today. And by the way, I left you a message specifically to Sword and Stones here. I left you a message in Discord, just curious about your website. So if you happen to take a look at it, let me know. Working on a video for your game. But speaking of, and hey, there's GM Cody. But yeah, I mean, talking about the landscape, I mean, there's a lot of different games out there that are extraordinarily popular at the moment.
But are they popular? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Are they games or are they just clones of D&D again?
I think that's a valid question. I think that there are a lot of clones of D&D out there. Shadow Dark is one of them. Morgborg is certainly one of them.
Very popular.
I guess technically Dragonbane could be.
No, Dragonbane's a BRP clone.
It's a clone of the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons.
No, exactly. Dragonbane, original Dragon was based on RuneQuest.
Right.
Because they couldn't get the rights to D&D and they couldn't publish D&D in their language, but they could do RuneQuest.
Right. So I think that...
Hence the ducks.
So, okay, so your question was, what are different games popular right now, or are they just clones of D&D?
Yeah.
Okay, so I recently did a video covering this this Evermorph cube. It's like a Rubik's Cube, but it's a dungeon, okay? And we got into a semi-argument, and trust me, I'm going to bring this back around. We got into a semi-discussion in the chat about what inspired it. And there was a game called Tushu, I believe, where back in the 1980s, you had to match up tiles in an infinite loop, which was based on a patent that came out in 1963, which was based on something even older than that, which was based on dominoes, which dominoes were based on a simple six-sided die. So the argument there, the counter argument there is nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I pose a question real quick?
100%.
Are there any of the games, other than the obvious, that are even relevant market-wise, or are they all just so split?
Wow.
I think that, I think that personally, I see them as there is relevance, but the relevance is in the splitting of the market.
Okay.
That's
Hang on. So yeah, you're right. By the way, Gotham Rome is right on this one because let's see what we've got
Yeah.
right now. We've got the D&D 5.5 crowd, which is still large and still strong, but
Yeah.
not as large and strong as it was when 5 came out. Let's be honest. We've got the Shadow Dark crowd, which is insanely strong. We've got the Daggerheart crowd, which is going to be strong by its connections to Critical Role, right?
Mhm.
There's a small Draw Steel crowd around the Matt Colville stuff. It's pretty good size. The guy made a lot of money. What else have we got? The rest of us are all, everybody else is just fighting for the scraps left over the table. And of those 3 that are bigger than the rest of us, they're fighting for the scraps left over by WotC. Pathfinder's nothing. It's a ghost of what it once
Yeah.
was.
I agree that Pathfinder has largely become irrelevant. Daggerheart just came with a built-in marketing campaign. I expect
really
that to
did.
die over time.
Well, the game's getting reviews that are not good from the non-fans, right? The people who aren't critters don't like the game. So,
And though the old school styling stuff, I think collectively is a decent market, but too many branches, too many competitors. It's like
yeah.
throwing 50 fast food restaurants in a town with 100 people.
I like that. That's good, man.
They're all going out of business. Well, and that takes us back around to your original question. And, is it splitting? And yes, I think to a degree it is splitting. Now, what is it called? Somebody help me out here. It's where you have different circles, that these are the circle of interests here, 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 and here, and where they overlap.
Venn diagram.
Thank you. That's what I see. I happen to fall kind of in the middle of some of that, where I have an interest, of course, in D&D, various editions, as well as Shadow Dark, as well as Dragonbane, Morkborg. But then I have a small smattering of other games that I like. Gosh, there was somebody that I knew that was putting together a superhero game that was really cool.
Still getting put together, man. It's
No,
just
I
a
know,
lack
I
of
know, I know.
liquid.
And I'm
Lack of
chomping at the bit
capital.
for it. I'm chomping at the bit. I'm just waiting for it to be in a final format before I really jump into it. Because, I mean, you and I both know in the editing process, shit changes,
Well, it's
from
edited.
time to time.
No. So right, the last version we put out was the fully laid out version. We're just getting art now.
Okay. So,
I mean, and there are still mistakes that slip through.
and by the way, the game I'm talking about here is Heroic. But there's other little games. Tim from Sword and Stones is in the chat. Sword and Stones is another game that I'm looking at. I just did a backing of this, although this itself is not a game. It's just kind of a morphing dungeon. There's scale mail that I'm into. So I mean, I belong into like a weird, not quite full circle of the Venn diagram. It's kind of more of a blobby blob,
I feel
amoeba
the
shape.
need to share a classic quote to address the splitting of the market and the OSR pool that is like, endless amounts of bakeries, as he was saying, a bunch of restaurants in a small town. The only people we hate more than the Romans are the Judean People's Front, the Popular Front, and the People's Front of Judea.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
that's exactly what it comes down to at this point in time, right?
Yeah, and Rivers throws out there if I've ever tried Aliens or The Walking Dead, and I have. Yeah, in fact, I've done the original Aliens game as well as the new. Well, I say new; it's not exactly new, but the one from Freely.
From Freely. Yeah, it's a good game. They just did a second edition of it. It's a good game. But again, these are not massive market appeal
No,
games.
they're not. They're not.
But also, Freely's hurting themselves with so much IP stuff. Like they're just starting to hurt themselves.
So let me pose this one out there, and I think Goth, that you might be a good candidate to throw some feedback in on this one. And Bear, certainly you as well. So let's say you put together a new game.
Mm-hmm.
You of course, we always hope that it's going to blow up and become this cultural phenomena. This yeah, there you go. And you hope that it's going to become a global phenomena. Reality is that you're trying to compete with the big granddaddy out there, Dungeons and Dragons. Whether it's the system or the brand name is completely irrelevant. It's the system, and I'm not talking about like, first edition, second edition, third edition, fifth edition, 5.5, whatever. I'm not talking about like that kind of a system. I'm talking about, when I say system, I'm talking like when I say D&D, most folks automatically have this preconceived notion of exactly what it is. That's what you're competing against. So at a certain point, it's like,
Basically, you're talking about D&D as the game engine rather than the rule set.
kind of, yeah. The
Rather
game
than
engine, the
brand.
mentality of it, the sitting down with like minds and playing. So are you satisfied with putting together something, and it may be small, knowing that, well, at most I might cater to 2,000 people, and it will slowly grow from there,
I would
and
be,
eventually hit 20,000 people.
If I had 2,000 people, I wouldn't be here talking to you. I'd be busy smoking cigars on the back deck, thinking about how successful I've been.
Right.
Please.
Right. So that's what I mean by that. That's what I mean by the question. And that was an extremely wordy question. So let me paraphrase it. When putting together a smaller game that's not mainstream, at what point are you satisfied, or at what point would you define it as being a success?
For me, having published 1.5 games so far and got a couple more in the pipe, if I can break even on my costs, that's a success for me. I'm not even kidding on that. And Valorous, I haven't.
Oh, Bear, what happened?
I'll just say, I've never made a game myself, but I want to at some point. But for me, success doesn't mean money. It just means like at least one person, at least one party can play and come back to me saying, I love that. That's great for me.
Bear, it looks like you cut out for just a second.
Yeah, I know my system's overheating again. It does this sometimes. Should be okay now. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Yeah, so anyway, I'll let the other people talk, and then I'll say my piece at the end.
I'll go ahead and give my evil corporatist answer, which is that it needs to pay for itself and pay enough to be worth my time.
And yeah, I understand that completely. At what point do you realize that, unfortunately, for it to be worth your time and to pay for itself, you have to take that first step first? Like at a certain point, where do you decide, okay, it's time to cut ties from this and not move forward anymore with it?
Even before that, you're looking at having to see a market as a whole. There's more to. You can gauge what can and cannot succeed in many ways before you start.
Right.
For example, I have to give Bear a lot of credit because he's entering a market where there was not really much competition. And I know I've told you that before. Superhero genre within that game style just isn't really there anymore.
Right.
So it's something where most of the time it would be in this industry, I would stop before I even considered it.
So, all right, you have to ask yourself a question before you publish anything, which is, what is your goal?
Right.
Is your goal to make money? If your goal is to make money, I would highly recommend. There we go. That should have a better sound. I would highly recommend, if your goal is to make money, publish for Shadow Dark. You'll make money. It's becoming an oversaturated market, but you'll make money because they do tend to be a very loyal backing group, so long as you do everything the way it's already been done and don't deviate and stray too far from the goal, because then they don't want to. No, we want the same thing over and over again. If you want to make decent money and hopefully break even, publish for OSR. But again, don't deviate too from the mark. You're allowed 1 or 2 changes to the BX rules, but after that, now you're getting weird. You want to just go play 5e, loser? Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah.
And if you want to create something that you're satisfied with, that you're proud of, that you believe in, do your own thing, but you're going to die broke. You want to make hundreds of dollars in the RPG indie publishing market? Start with thousands. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
don't even think it necessarily requires that. I personally think that it requires identifying the correct market and just starting with enough of a budget to market to them.
You're not going to
and I
make
think
money.
that there are exceptions to that. I mean, obviously, what is it? DC-20 was an exception to it, although I haven't heard too much about their success as of late. Um, but that's also one that I personally don't have a whole tremendous amount of interest in. It was just too crunchy of a system for my liking.
Someone mentioned Tales of the Valiant earlier in the chat, and it might
Yeah,
have been Rivers. Yeah, that's a prime example of pissing away the best marketing you ever had in your life. Because remember, they came out, they were announced as Black Flag, and everybody
right,
got excited, and
right.
Nerd Immersion was putting a black flag up and all that kind of fun stuff. It was really cool. Then they announced it as Tales of the Valiant, and no one gave a shit anymore.
Yeah,
Because everyone wanted to play a game called Black Flag. Everyone wanted to be a badass and go, yeah, I'm playing Black Flag, man.
yeah,
Screw WotC. The hell with D&D. We play Tales of the what?
yeah. It makes me
That sounds like a
wonder.
Patrick Rothfuss series. What the hell? What?
It
That
makes
was
me.
without question one of the stupidest things I've ever seen a
Yeah.
company do.
It makes me
Insanely
wonder
dumb.
if there was something behind the scenes that I don't know. Somebody reached out to him and said, "Hey, okay, what do we got to pay to make that name go away?" I don't know. That's just pure speculation, but it's as you two both pointed out, that was too good of a name
Oh,
to just not use it. I don't know.
From professional experience, I can tell you that you should never be surprised whenever the artistic sort can grab defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, that's true.
snatch it right out of their mouths. It's
That's
insane.
true. That's true. So with that, I want to shift slightly to the realm of Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure.
And oh, what a beast that is.
I'm
So
looking forward to 6th edition. Go ahead.
yeah. So I mean, of course, rumors are abound that that they're working on a sixth edition. That some historical figures from D&D, from the
Yeah.
original D&D, are somehow tied to it. But I've not found any substantial uh, evidence that indicates that that's going to be the case. I don't think it's any small surprise that this new 5.5 edition was not as successful as WotC had anticipated. Certainly, when Hasbro did their earnings report, their quarterly earnings report, this most recent past one that just happened not too long ago, there was barely a mention of D&D even in it. There was mention of Magic the Gathering as being a huge amount of a big money maker, but not much information about D&D. So that tells me, just from that alone, the absence of that information tells me that it wasn't as successful as they were really hoping it to be. And I believe that it was that way, that it wasn't as big of a success because of some moves and decisions that WotC has made with the game over the past recent years. Go all the way back to the OGL. Yes, Bear.
So you're not wrong, but I'm going to just interrupt you and say something. Stop saying WotC and start saying Hasbro. Because we
Yeah.
now know that whenever Hasbro needed money, they ordered
Yeah.
WotC to print up a new set of Magic cards.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So they
Yeah.
flooded the market. Well, now 5.5 is not making money. It's losing money. They've gutted the team at WotC. And I guarantee you the Hasbro guys are going, well, can we just do a 6th edition and get people excited about that now? And the people who are left at WotC are not the game designer purists who love the hobby. They're corporate employees who want their jobs to exist after seeing all their friends get fired. So no one at WotC is going, no, it'd be a really bad idea to do a 6th edition right now because we haven't had the 5.5 out long enough. You know what I mean?
Well, then 7 months ago, we had Dan Ayub come in and make a big long post about how they wanted to start steering the ship towards the right path. And that kind of brings us to the second topic of today's stream.
Hang on, I think Goth wanted to add something to what I said.
Oh, go ahead, Goth.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am much more sympathetic to the corporate side. I suppose I'm one of those people. But two things. The overprinting thing, The case that was brought against that has already been dropped. It was a case where shareholders bring something forward. The interesting thing with it was that they attempted to, the phrase you usually hear is pierce the corporate veil, where they are suing people individually as opposed to suing the corporation. You did have Cox, and I know his was dropped. I've not heard anything about Cynthia Williams. And I am more inclined to attribute that to less inclined to contribute it to corporate than to a holding company, than to a held company, if
Mhm.
they are pursuing a former president of the held company.
Oh,
And the other thing is that I don't think anybody was anticipating success with 5.5. It just is, there was no logical reason anybody with half a mind thought that would be successful given when it was coming out
yeah.
So
and
pure
the state of the
hubris.
market. I'm not even going to say it was hubris. I think that it was just an attempt to try and generate additional profits because of dwindling sales. To be
Yeah.
like, oh, this is new and shiny. There was
Couple of
nothing there.
comments real quick. So just a passerby asks, but will WotC shift to a fully digital now? I don't think they can. Um, I I think that you might see that happen, say in maybe 10 years, but right now, I say I don't think that it could happen. It would be a big mistake if they did. Of course, they've not exactly been known for making the best decisions. And as Bear said, not WotC, but Hasbro making the decision. Um, and then Malachi, Cynthia's gone. She's left. What that specifically was citing was that, or what they were talking about there with Cynthia, it was a lawsuit that was brought against her when she was still head of the ship there.
It came about after the fact, but given that it was pursuing past just a corporate case and it was pursuing individuals for
Right.
mismanagement,
Right.
there was considered to be no grounds. Apparently, everything that would have come out in a disclosure was presented, and so it was entirely dropped to where there was actually some basis for what they were doing.
But
Whether
at the
we'll
Yeah.
same
find that out, I
time,
don't know.
at the same time, though, saying it was dropped doesn't mean it was wrong. It just means they came to an agreement or they put it away. It doesn't mean that the allegations were untrue. It just means it never had to go to a point of being proved, right? So who knows what happened behind the scenes to make all that go away? We don't know,
Yeah.
and we'll
Typically,
never
and
know.
we won't know what happened behind, but where it was dropped in that fashion, either the people filing the lawsuit were deemed to have no standing, or alternatively, uh,
Hmm.
the
Yeah.
holding, well, Hasbro could have just been like, here's your evidence. Go ahead and prove this wrong. And it was
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
planned on the back end, which
Yeah.
checks out if that was a
Or
goal all along.
there's a million things that could have happened. I'm just saying them dropping it and then moving away doesn't change the fact that it was believed at the time to be common knowledge that Hasbro ordered magic cards printed when they needed money. Now,
And
whether
we
we
did
can
see
prove
the
it in
market
court
get
is
flooded.
different.
I mean,
Flooded.
the fact remains we did see the market get flooded with a lot of additional magic cards than we have
We
seen
did.
in years past. But
Anyway, that's neither here nor there because we still have to deal
yeah,
with the fact that D&D is
yeah,
dying. And as a result, a lot of our hobby is dying with it. And we are seeing less and less choices beyond 6 stats, class, and level coming out.
yeah,
And the stuff that does come out doesn't get supported. People don't rally to it. Shadow Dark, for all of its success, is still a goddamn D&D clone.
yeah.
At the end of the day, it's
Well,
still
and
D&D.
so I mean to match that up with the landscape of the role playing genre, uh, I it's I I am seeing interest in role playing games just as a whole slowly start to shrink down. You've got, of course, the ending of Stranger Things, so the interest that those folks had in it has decreased because Stranger Things ended on a major flop end, and that probably pissed a lot of people off to say, I don't want to have anything to do with that anymore. You don't have there's no new D&D movie, which some can argue that the movie didn't, was not a commercial success. But for those of us that liked it, it was a fun movie.
Yeah.
I just want to add, so I had connection
Yeah.
issues. and they're still mentioning it in the comments about the going digital only.
Hmm.
There was an announcement in one of the con type things where I think it was Dan a troop, however you pronounce the
Yeah.
name, mentioned that they are going to be focusing more on in-store stuff, where they're going to be releasing um, adventures and stuff that's going to be specifically for in-store materials, giving extra stuff to the stores to promote in-store in-game play,
Right.
things that they can do. There's even a hint that they might even be doing custom stuff, which can be supported through digital maps. But there will be a focus on in-game store stuff. So it's not going digital as of yet. It won't be for a while because it's a brand new invented. Well, it's not brand new. They did it before. They're bringing it back to focus on in-store merchandise, in-store materials, and new stuff for in-store only stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's something that, back in I don't want this to be one of those kind of videos, but hey, back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, and really all through the 90s up until the mid to late 90s, WotC Wizards of the Coast at that time did have a really good marketing program. You could get all kinds of promotional materials. I know because I had the store and I was able to get them. Now, a lot of that was usually tethered to purchase X amount of dollars worth of books and you get this free stand up, or purchase X amount of magic boxes and you get a promo box that you can give out. I mean, it was stuff like that, but and I don't know if they still do that or not. But
I
the
think they plan
bottom
to.
I
That's
think that, yeah, I think that's what I read too, that they plan to do something, return to that. But the bottom line is, going back to OGL, looking at the Magic the Gathering Anniversary Edition for $1,000 for a booster that was unplayable,
Insane.
to all of these other silly moves that they made and decisions that they made, it turned a lot of players off from Dungeons and Dragons as a brand.
Well, they basically had a mini, not the same in the collectability of it, but in the popularity. They had a little mini Beanie Babies moment.
Yeah,
And they thought this money was just going to keep rolling off the presses while everybody was telling them COVID's over.
right.
This ain't going to last. Use your brains. But I'm sure Goth will, because we both worked in enough corporations to know there's a line that above that line, brain power isn't a strong suit of predicting the
Yeah.
future. It's just
It's
assuming nothing's going to change. And for some
There,
reason, they have all the power.
there are some ideas so stupid they can only be attributed to higher education.
Yeah,
But
exactly. That's
hey,
so fair.
you said it, not me.
but
Yeah,
one
y'all had to go to college to be that stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
One thing I will say, somebody mentioned ability to merchandise. I don't think their ability is not knowing how to merchandise. I think their ability is complete disregard for who their target audience actually is,
Well,
and
and
they've been
that's
going after
yeah,
everything else.
and that's really the meat of it, is it's failing to recognize who your target audience is. It's failing to understand that, take it for what it's worth, I'm one of them too. I include myself in this statement. It's the dude in the basement that hasn't taken a shower in 3 days, that
Wow.
just wants to hang out with his friends and have a good time. That's your target
I,
audience.
I,
Or take a shower.
I'm going to dumb it down a little more. Um, as put this, you might have seen over recent years that you see a lot of sci-fi and fantasy stuff being feminized, if you will. Take Star Wars, glorify Leia, put in female protagonist. You've seen that with all sorts of brands and franchises, and as it so happens, all these things keep losing money. So
Amazing how that
all of a
happens.
sudden, even within just the tabletop industry as a whole, it's across the board. You've even seen that with Warhammer recently. Their target audience, if they want to talk about who would actually pay for it, is people with a Y chromosome. Just saying, and they are marketing to anything but.
If I may, one of the things, first of all, yeah, you're right, but also that market's dying. And I don't mean like dying and no one's buying. I mean, we're literally dying now. It's like we're on that cusp where a lot of
Yeah.
us are kicking the bucket there.
Yeah.
The earlier ones are starting to die off, and then our generation's not 10 years behind them. And they haven't done anything to bring in a new market to replace us, which was a big mistake.
Yes.
Secondly, what you're talking about, this whole modern audience mentality that they're hunting for, this is why, all behind the scenes nonsense aside, I always have much respect for Vince McMahon's business model, which was everyone was protesting the WWF, WWE, and he went, well, you don't go to my shows or buy my DVDs, so I don't give a fuck what you do or say. And he doubled down and went harder on being what he did and pleased his client base, to the point that when he retired, they just sold that company to the Saudis for a massive amount of cash because it was still a profitable venture. Whereas D&D, chasing the market, as Mr. Welch said, the market really wants Morgan Ironwolf and her pokies, but they're getting, ooh, you could be a barista in, and you can do this, and let's do no one wants that.
Right.
No one wants that.
Right.
Nobody wants a plushie of a cutesy owlbear. Nobody.
What I will tell you is that from personal experience, I can tell you that Linda of that family is a very nice woman. I've met her on a few.
That's what I hear.
occasions.
I hear she's a
Very
fantastic
nice.
person.
As far
But-
as, but I'm not just talking about the older crowd. I'm talking about young men in general. They're turning.
But they're
away.
not playing. Yeah, they're not playing because it's not marketed to them. They haven't
It's
replaced
not.
the audience.
They haven't, and that's sort of their problem. Which, going back to what I said earlier, the ability to market. If you can enter it with enough money to market to that demographic and pull in the old crowd as well, all of a sudden you've got something that you're going to lose money initially. Obviously, it'll probably take about 12 years, but you could in fact build up something that would be profitable. But it is that marketing that is the initial.
Well, Troll Lords is a perfect example, right? These guys got it at the right time with something that the market wanted. They kept it in-house. They did as much in-house as they could, to the point now where they're doing everything in-house, I believe, including their printing is going to be going in-house again, second time around. And they did it well, and they built a good, solid base that will always keep them alive. And that's a great thing. But I don't see a lot of young people playing Castles and Crusades.
How much money are they actually spending on marketing to where people even know about it? The marketing is where that is. The marketing is the key. And
I think for the most
millions
part,
of dollars.
Yeah, I think for the most part, a lot of marketing. I'm not saying this is the fact with them, but I'm saying that I believe that some of them depend on channels like Bears, like mine,
Word of
to
mouth.
get word out there about this kind of stuff. And I mean, good or bad, I mean, I think that is a viable, or let me rephrase, I think that can be a viable business practice or merchandising practice. It's not one that I would necessarily choose. You go back to the old adage, it takes money to make money. You got to spend money to make money.
Yeah. I'll throw this out as well. There was a glorious missed opportunity not too long ago. You might have noticed a fellow by the name of Elon Musk condemned wotc. If somebody had a product and been like, hey, we're competing, you have the most visible person in the world on social media calling out a product.
Yeah.
That was an opportunity. That would have.
Well, true.
Yeah. Well, and so that actually is an excellent segue into what I wanted to the second part of what I wanted to go into today. And that is examining the survey so that we can kind of be on par and on task with the thumbnail that brought us all here. But this was posted 2 days ago on D&D Beyond, and it basically talks about Dan Ayub last year. And again, this was about 7 months ago. In fact, we did a live stream covering that particular article. But just to show you here, I mean, we did this, and it's talking about D&D's new direction, and it's a system that belongs to you. It's a stronger SRD step by step, this, that, and the other, and some of the other stuff that they're wanting to do. And this is, I think somebody had mentioned about putting physical books back in stores and in a heavier rotation in stores. It was in this article that was kind of talked about. But what they posted a couple of days ago is that D&D doesn't grow without you. Okay, well, that's good word salad there. The way you play, the stories you tell, feedback you share inspires their work every single day. It may inspire it, but I don't know that it actually changes it. D&D is at its best when it's built with the community. I will agree with that. What I will also agree with is that I don't think that they have had that uh, in the forefront in developing more recent material. Um, Case in point, look at Vecna Eve of Ruin. It just recently came out that the original version of it was drastically different from what we got. And it was actually going to tie into the various obelisks that were found in almost going 7 years back into D&D 5th edition from that point, where we had this mysterious obelisks that popped up. There wasn't a single one in Eve of Ruin. Well, what happened was somebody help me out here. Who was the main creator there in D&D at that point? He just recently left to go over to
Crawford?
Crawford. Thank you. That Crawford, he just recently released or stated that he had this whole different idea for it. And basically his time was getting smaller and smaller in that project as they had him shift over to other projects. And basically a completely different team came in, took over, and changed everything. And we got what we got. That was not being built, as this states, with our community.
Just so you know, being built by a community is typically a terrible idea. In case you haven't noticed, a person can be intelligent, but people are morons.
I get that.
Fully agree. Absolutely agree.
So this also starts.
Nothing good ever came from a committee, right?
Yeah.
Amen.
This also states that starting now, they're launching regular surveys to check in with the players and DMs that they want to know how we're feeling, what's working, and where we want them to focus next. And we'll click this button. We'll collectively take the survey here in a moment, but it basically states that over the past couple of months, we've tried to be more visible, transparent about where we're headed. I agree, they have. Even looking at, let's see, if we go to D&D Beyond, if you take a look on their main site, and I'm not going to click it because I don't want to pull up the video, but if you click this, it takes you over to Nerd Immersion, where he has a reach out, like a video where he is sitting down with several creators of D&D, and they just kind of go over fun stuff. They're definitely reaching out to folks.
They are reaching out to visible folks who can help market.
Correct.
They're playing
not
the
necessarily
same game they've always played.
It's not.
There's no real benefit there to really
They
anybody
are-
but the company.
They are making efforts to be a bit more transparent with us, the customers, because they took over the there's an unofficial subreddit for D&D, which is made by a fan.
Mhm.
They are now the mods there, so we now have community manager Latia as the main mod. We also have Zach and Brian Perry, who are actively on the Reddits now, actively engaging with the audience.
Yeah.
There's a lot of feedback going on maps on the Reddit, which Zach, who is in charge of the maps, is responding to. He has made updates to maps based on the feedback he's gotten from Reddit. They're doing Ask Me Anythings on there a lot more often now, which is spearheaded by Brian and Latia. Even people who are just there, who just help out in general every now and again, they're getting private messages from these people to say, thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate it. I've got one. So they are having a lot more impact and a lot more.
Can I ask you a question, Cybermind?
Yeah.
How many people that need to be talking to them do you think are on the actual official D&D subreddit, though? Right?
Well, it's not official anymore, is it? It's not an official subreddit.
Unofficial, whatever it is. The point is that the people whose voices need to be heard are not participating in these communities that they go to. They avoid these communities like the plague, and they go look for indie communities where there's a bitterness that they can be fed into, and then as a result of that, you get this echo chamber of negativity. This is where they need to make a headway. This is where they need to stab into. They need to stab into these communities that are not WotC Pro, not shills for D&D, who are going to go, well, here's what we think you did wrong, and they have to be open and listen. If they don't do that, they're just singing to their own choir over and over and over again.
All right, I'm just going to throw this out there as well. But whenever I think of dumb really dumb corporate decisions, listening to Reddit on anything is generally the gold standard of being an imbecile.
I don't know
Just
about
But
that.
saying.
it's so
I,
open and
Like,
wonderful and nice.
Oh yeah,
well,
it's
I think
great.
that there's good information that can be gleaned from it, but
I've
every
also
bit of it
because
has to
like
be taken with a grain of salt.
yes, but
The
also like they do on the forums as well. People have asked for the roadmap to come back. They've now got a roadmap for the features. They got a roadmap for the things they're going to be releasing next year or two. They got releases for the content stuff. People ask for those on the forum.
I think
thing
your
cut
mic may have cut out again, Cybermine. Um,
Basically, the point I wanted to make on
yeah.
Reddit is that the target audience they need to target doesn't touch Reddit. That
Well, so
is,
that
yep.
brings us to the survey itself. That's casting a wide net out there. Um, I don't know how else you would actually get in touch with your target audience. Am I the target audience? I don't know. Is Bear the target audience?
Nope.
Again, I don't know.
I can tell you I'm
Uh,
not.
I mean, could say I'm not. I play the game, so I mean, by that sheer fact, maybe I am a part of the target audience. I talk about the game a lot here on this channel. Does that make me a part of the target audience? I don't know. Um,
All I'm saying is that if they want to really get a sondage, as we say in French, of what's going on in
mhm,
the hobby and where they have screwed up, they need to talk to the people that are not on pro WotC forums, D&D Reddit,
right,
D&D anything. They need to go talk to the people who are playing Shadow Dark. They need to go talk to the people who are playing Dragonbane
right.
or Dragon Slayer or whatever the
So
case may be.
I'm
So what would be the
gonna
best way? What would be the best way for them to do that, though?
Not be assholes.
No, I
Uh,
mean, which
no, but I
forums did
mean,
they
like
go
how to
to?
physically get out there and
Yeah,
ask.
oh,
Yeah,
I don't even think they need to ask. The
Just read and
writings,
listen.
the writing is on the wall.
but
You
where
can
is it
see.
at?
Oh,
Where do they go to get that information?
yeah, because I
uh,
have not seen this. So, and I
simple
haven't done one.
extrapolation of looking at things happening within the entertainment industry. It's really clear and obvious. The audience they are marketing to is very small, is not expanding much. You can look to Doctor Who, you can look to Star Wars, you can look to Star Trek, you can look to even the troubles that 40K is having now. You can look to TV shows, films, video games. All of these things are sending a very clear message about what the audience does not want. And if you perhaps try the opposite of that, you're probably going to find some things that do work. But nobody
Imagine.
really wants to do that. I'm
Imagine.
I'm avoiding
Imagine.
going into specifics as I don't want to get your channel canceled or anything. But I'm pretty sure people can sort of read between the lines of what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
No, but at the same time, imagine if Hasbro and WotC took a lot of that money and went after a very popular non-progressive IP, right?
Yes.
And then release something for it, and just a source book, here's a I'll pick one randomly out of my ass, Beastmaster. Okay, HBO. Hey, Beastmaster's
Sure.
on TBS, the Beastmaster station. Everyone's seen the damn movie. Imagine if they said, hey, we're releasing an official Beastmaster supplement, not a game. Here's just a Beastmaster source book, 100, 200 pages, and floated it out to see what the market reaction was. And if they did it right and they didn't try and I hate these dancing around terms, wokeify it, they might actually be surprised how many people buy it and what a good stream of word of mouth they'll get out of that. And suddenly people
Oh,
might go, hey, look, this is popular. Maybe we are in the wrong place. Maybe people don't want to be baristas in D&D. What a crazy concept. Maybe they want to kill bad guys and steal treasure.
Personally, going back to what was mentioned earlier about a 6E, I have a hard time believing that, at least even if just in Hasbro, somebody there has not seen these kinds of trends, which is why I give a 6E some degree of plausibility, because it has to be recognized that there is a big market there that they're not making any money from at all.
oh,
They've
I'm
just
sure
sort of
there's
walked away.
multiple. Yeah, I'm sure there's multiple markets that they have dipped their toes into that they're not making any money off of.
Oh, like they're not even catering to that market though. Like they are making nothing that is for that market at present.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and one of the things I would like to see them do is they did tell us a few years back, and key word there is a few years back, of releasing the SRD for 2E, 1E, 3E, and I think that of course it won't make them any money, which is probably why they haven't been too quick to get that done. But that would certainly, I mean, Bear, you'd probably create some material for 2E, wouldn't you, if you were allowed?
I don't do class and level anymore, so no.
Oh,
But
okay.
like I said earlier, if I wanted to make money, I'd be publishing for Shadow Dark. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I publish for the love of publishing and creating and getting my ideas out there. But if they were to open up the SRD for second edition, I guarantee there'd be a ton of people publishing for it. But the problem is that's
Yeah.
people they're not making money off of, so they don't
Right.
care about that.
Well, that's why I'm saying they're not in a rush to get that and make that happen.
Now,
So
if
that all
they were
said,
to release a brand new advanced Dungeons and Dragons game where they went and they took the best people from the community and they went and they said,
Yeah.
hey, we're going to take the best of AD&D and 2E AD&D, we're going to make the ultimate AD&D. I guarantee that thing would sell like crazy,
maybe.
just to people who just want to check it out. You know what I mean? Just to see what they did. And if they did it well, the word of mouth would catch fire.
exactly.
So we're 45 minutes into it, and I want to be clear that this is not a let's all pile on and hate on WotC.
What? I've been lied to.
Yeah, you've been lied to.
But they have such punchable faces. Come on.
Well, maybe.
Let's
But
take
what I
their
do
stupid
want
survey.
to
Can
pay
you zoom it in,
attention
though,
to
please?
is
Because it's a little
that,
hard to read.
like Cybermind said, I also do believe that they're trying to be a bit more transparent in what they're doing, getting out there, and soliciting feedback from people that play the game, regardless of what the demographic is. And to that end, again, to fulfill the point of the thumbnail for this video, I want us to go ahead and take the survey. And again, I want to take a look at it from the perspective of at face value, as if we are genuinely going to make a difference. I'm trying to enter into this survey with that in mind.
God bless you.
I know.
Can you just make it a bit bigger, please, so I can actually see it?
Can I make it bigger?
Like just
This is
Control
about
Plus, and it'll zoom in your browser.
Maybe.
No? Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Now we can read it. Hey, that's crazy. But okay, yeah.
Okay. What's my age? Well, we'll put in mine because I'm not scared to share how old I am.
Youngin'.
I know you ladies are you're not supposed to ask you guys that. So overall, how do we feel about Dungeons and Dragons these days? Honestly, I'm a touch on the neutral side.
I'm a touch on the I hate it side.
I'm with
Ben. And I love it. I'm so schizophrenic on 5e because the core of 5e is a good game. Everything they've done on top of it is garbage. So I'll go with I don't like this game to be my vote.
See, I went with I love this game just because regardless of personal editions, it's not talking about fifth edition, it's talking about D&D in general. It's not talking about wotc, it's not talking about Hasbro, it's just Dungeons and Dragons.
I love that
game.
Point. Yeah, that's a good point. Overall, how do you feel about Dungeons and Dragons these days? It may not, and see, this is where I can't stand doing stuff like this because I'm reading too much between the lines. Like, are they specifically asking about 5th edition? I feel like if they were, they would have specifically pointed out 5.5.
This is one of those lovely cases where I ask you a question that can be interpreted certain ways, and then internally I'm going to interpret it however makes me feel best or look best.
Correct. So I think for this, I love Dungeons and Dragons, not as it is currently, but as I would do it at my table, which is mostly a 3rd edition with a smattering of 2nd edition, a smattering of 5th edition, and a smattering of other systems as well.
So neutral. Overall, we boil down to neutral.
Sure. Okay. Overall, how do you feel about Wizards of the Coast these days?
Hate this company.
I'm not going to say hate because that's too strong of a word. I'm going to lean towards I don't like this company, but again, that's Goth's kind of like you said. You're asked the question is being asked that's going to be interpreted in ways that are open. It's an open interpretation.
Yeah, I went with neutral on this one myself, just because
Uh,
the stuff they don't like, the stuff I do like, I don't know how to quantify either side, so I just went neutral.
dumbfounded by incompetence isn't an option, so I'd leave it blank.
Yeah,
Other than
except it has to
baddies,
be. See this little red star here? It has to be answered to move on.
Then,
I
yeah.
see, okay, now I'm going to stop you. Okay,
Yeah.
and I spent a lot of time working for the fruit company, and one of the things we had to do a lot when we were working with the fruit company is understand surveys. And taking neutral stances affects nothing. They disregard when they tally everything up and they look at their numbers. They disregard the neutral stuff. They don't pay attention to it.
right,
They're looking for extreme or at least committed responses.
right.
Undecided typically doesn't matter.
Yeah, they don't care about you if you're neutral.
So how likely are you to recommend playing Dungeons and Dragons to someone you know? Again, open to interpretation because, hey, if you're wanting to play third edition, I'll probably recommend it. Second edition, I'll definitely recommend it. Fifth edition,
Brian,
5.5.
I love you like a play cousin, but you know damn well they're not talking about second, third,
I know.
first, BX.
I
They're
know.
talking about fifth, 5.5.
I know. I'm probably going to have to go with a 3 on here. I mean, we'll talk about it, but here's the thing. I'm also not going to sit down in a casual day-to-day conversation. I'm not going to just strike up a conversation with somebody that I just randomly met and go, "How are you with the Church of Latter-day Saints?" Only, insert the D&D thing here. That just doesn't happen. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't just come up organically in conversation.
Who the hell starts a conversation like that? Yeah,
Exactly. So I'm going to have to kind of go with a 3 here. How likely are you to recommend D&D Beyond to someone I know?
0.
Yeah, I mean, not very likely.
Honestly, with the fourth one, I think personally that number would be higher just because of accessibility. And I mean, I'm not a person who likes them at all, but just because of accessibility, they have a lot of benefits there, and I think that's probably the biggest draw that
Well, okay,
brand
so
has.
you kind of have me kind of reconsidering the question. I'm looking at it now from, okay, this is a GameMasters point of view as a channel. And I don't go out of my way to recommend it, Dungeons and Dragons to folks. I make content based on the game, and other games as well. You know what? I think I'm going to have to go with an extreme on this and go with an 8 because just from that point of view, only because when there have been books that have come out for 5th edition that I like, I guess in a technical point of view, I have recommended the book.
I mean, that is probably the only thing I would give a high rating on because we've talked about other things, but
Yeah.
that brand is the only one that, you can walk into a store and see their products.
Yeah. And then as far as me giving the D&D Beyond a 1, I've been very vocal. I'm not a fan of how they present their books on D&D Beyond. I like drive-through RPG in that I can download the PDF and I can use the PDF on my computer, or if I need to, it's a little expensive to do so, but if I need to, I can print the material out. At the very least, I can print out specific pages that I need to reference. Navigating D&D Beyond has gotten complicated. I'm an older person. Maybe technology. I mean, hey, look, we had to hit plus so Bear could read the screen.
I regret it now, by the way.
Yes, yeah, I'm on the other side because, as you may have noticed by my username, I love technology, so I prefer digital over physical.
I
Although I like
like,
physical, I have
yeah,
books.
I do like technology, but when
But
okay,
I had a stack of books trying to go read through them, and I hated it because I struggle with trying to read through different pages and find what I want, even with an index. Whereas with DM Beyond or Roll20 or Foundry, I can literally
yeah,
just type in a keyword and I'm right there exactly where I need to be within 3 seconds. And I
it's
love that.
I think for
And
me, it's having it on my phone and trying to read a book on my phone. That's difficult for me to do.
I'm the
But
same. I struggle with my phone. I don't use the app very often.
yeah,
I prefer on my screen looking up and doing that on my laptop. Um, and the website is a lot better than the app. The app is kind of awful, even for D&B. I'm a D&B Beyond fan, and I still don't like the app.
So
But
just a thought, but don't you get all the benefit if you were just able to download a PDF instead of having to look it up through their app?
not quite. I mean, because D&D Beyond isn't just reading a book. It is also the character tools, encounter builders. They now have the VTT maps, which is making some progress. It's slow compared. It's not as good as others out there, but it is making progress in steps compared to what it was. Um, there's a lot more to D&D Beyond than just reading a book. So if all you're wanting
no,
is just reading a book, then obviously the PDFs or whatever is it's going to be way better for you. But D&D Beyond is first and foremost a tool set, not books. So if you want to
I'll
make
give you that.
characters, if you want to have quick references, so you can just look on your sheet and see the pop up of what that keyword does, it is a good tool for that. Compared to other things you can do, it's better than just reading a book for me.
Yeah.
Especially if you have kind of, I don't want to say ADHD, I don't have ADHD as far as I know, but if you just struggle with trying to look up something quickly, trying to get to open up the book, go to the right section, and finding it, even with Control F, it's still going to take you a lot longer than just it already being there in front of you on the sheet, as it is on D&D Beyond,
Yeah.
or just hovering your cursor over it.
And
I
I
do.
like when you search for a healing potion on D&D Beyond, you get 18 or 20 entries before the official SRD one. That's really helpful.
I don't know. I mean, there's ways of filtering that. It's just a case of knowing how
Yeah,
to use it.
again, I'm
It is a
I'm not a
struggle.
boomer. I'm Gen X. I don't want to have to spend all my time filtering when I can just flip open a book and find it faster.
Well, and that
Yeah.
boils down to target audience. I mean that's what I was saying earlier is it may be that I'm not the target audience any longer.
I keep saying I'm not.
So, all right, take a look at the following statements. How much do you agree? How much do you agree or disagree with each? Wizards of the Coast is headed in the right direction. That's a tough one to answer. I think if this was a year ago, I would have to strongly disagree strongly. I think that they are, again, I'm trying to take this at face value. I think that they are in the process of turning the ship, but I don't know that they're in a specific direction yet.
Yeah,
So,
I wouldn't agree strongly, but I wouldn't disagree because they are starting to make headway. They are starting to make
right.
decisions. The start of it, going towards listening to us and what we kind of want.
Yeah.
But yes, they have made some very weird choices in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I will say that I have seen nothing that actually display the appearance of
Or
making choices does not necessarily mean those choices are being made.
Well,
I've
again, this
not
is
seen
why I'm
anything that,
citing that we're taking it at face value.
yeah, taking it at face value, in my eyes, it's like driving from Philadelphia to New York and winding up in freaking Calcutta. It just that's their
Right.
direction. I don't
Right.
know whether there's
Right.
no way of knowing which way is the right direction from there. They've just sort of screwed the pooch so bad.
Yeah. Let's see. I trust Wizards of the Coast with D&D. I might have to go neutral on this. I mean,
Brian, are you a Buddhist by any chance?
see, here's
Yeah,
my side of it. It's the problem with
You're the Sid Arthur of this process. Sorry, go ahead, sorry, Matt. I apologize.
No, the problem I have with Wizards of the Coast is I want to trust them because of some of the stuff they're doing recently, but they made so many decisions where they keep firing the proper teams who were there for D&D, who built up D&D, what it was. They've all been fired, and they've been replaced with shareholders and corporate people who care more about our bottom line than the actual community they're supposed to be serving. And unfortunately, I don't think there's enough people left in actual Wizards of the Coast from the
so
creators
is
of D&D.
that through the fault of Wizards of the Coast, or is that through the fault of Hasbro? Because they're the ones that control the corporate purse strings.
Probably Hasbro, yeah. But then again, what Wizards can do is decided by what Hasbro can say they can. So even if Wizards of the Coast want to say, yeah, this is going to be the way forward, we know this is what our fans want, Hasbro can turn around and say, tough shit, you're going to do this and you won't like it, or you're fired.
I'm again coming to the defense of the corporation. If you have a holding company and you are a larger corporate enterprise, that holding company is, broadly speaking, expect to handle its internal matters. You can control some things broadly, but something like an artistic decision is made internally. If they are the artistic decision within wotc has been what has led to its decline, that would imply that it is in-house, not from a higher corporate necessity. I think you can look at, speaking candidly, piss poor leadership, and
Oh, for sure.
there's internally to the point where, I mean, I've always, well, as long as I've known you, Brian, I've always said that they need to gut their internal staff and rehire, because it's the only way you can fix that kind of rot, because it was very clearly down even
All
in the
right.
middle
So
management.
that leads us into the next question. Wizard of the Coast cares about me as a D&D player. I believe that no, they don't. I believe that they care about my wallet and what's in that wallet. For that, I'm
Brian.
going to give it a strongly disagree. But at that same notion, I'm also going to address the comment that's up on screen that
Yeah, I
I've
want to as well,
evidently
since
been
it's
sticking
coming
my
from
head
my
in the
channel.
sand since forever. Look at many of my 5e reviews. I have been extremely vocal about not liking some of the material that they've put out. I'm not sure what that's really supposed to mean.
So, as that came from my channel, allow me just to say to the people here from my channel, be nice.
Oh, I can take it. I want them
It's
to
not a question of
justify
taking it or not. It's just a
the
question of,
statement.
if just be nice though. There's no need. This isn't. We don't need to be
Yeah.
sticking heads in sand comments. Just say Brian likes 5e more than you do. I mean, that's ultimately what it is.
I mean, to be fair, there's no actual way of quantifying like or dislike, really. It's all
Right.
just sort of speculative. So
Fair.
what somebody might regard as mediocre, I could be impressed with because it was actually functioning. So, that all just comes from perspective more than anything
Well, I
else.
mean, you might like milk. I personally don't like milk. So, I mean, how do you quantify
Godless
it or justify
commie are you, sir?
I can't believe it. I'm agreeing with the Canadian.
No, I can't drink milk. I don't like milk. It disagrees with my stomach. It's not a emotional thing. Well,
I hear you.
it can be, but we won't go there. The last question on there is Dungeons and Dragons head in the right direction.
No,
I'm going to have to go with the same with the answer of I trust Wizards of the Coast with D&D. I don't know if they're going in the right direction or not. I think that they're turning the ship, but I can't agree with it or disagree with it at this point.
I'm going to agree with you. It's too early to know. They're making some changes, but it's not enough for us to know what's going to actually happen.
Yeah.
I mean, somehow, if again, this would be, going from Philadelphia to New York, and all of a sudden the car's in the air. You're just going straight up away from both. Who the hell knows what they're doing?
Okay, so in 200 words or less, what could Wizards of the Coast do to improve my opinion or our opinion of where we're headed with D&D? Oh, only 200 words.
Sell it.
No, this is going to be 200 characters. Sorry. 200 characters. Sell it. No, it is words.
Sell it harder. I don't know.
Yeah. Stop huffing your own farts. I don't know. I mean, like, at this point in time, what can you tell a company that's worth millions? Like, they don't give a shit, Brian. They don't care.
So I'll also point this one out too. So Sly Blue Demon, why is Brian giving them so much slack with just having surveys? I'm really confused. The question is, what have they actually done to get goodwill? I'm taking the whole point of this was to approach the survey as at face value. There's no small, I mean, they're not hiding the fact that they have made mistakes. There was a point in time when they did, and they didn't want to admit that they made mistakes. What's the whole quote? You guys won and we did too.
I hated that phrase.
Yeah. I mean, come on. They didn't win. But that was them attempting
Pure
to save face.
nonsense.
I view this more as like the FBI is investigating the FBI and has found no wrongdoing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that these questions are basically worded as they are to
Yeah. So
indicate that just in a way
to
that can be interpreted however they want.
Yeah. So to answer the question, what have they actually done to get goodwill? Again, I'm taking on face value what these words right here state in the announcement of the survey. I'm also taking into account what Dan Ayub wrote back in July of last year on the Welcome Back to the Table D&D's New Direction. Um, Again, I'm taking it at face value. Have they gone to folks' houses? Did they send somebody to a YouTuber's house about Magic the Gathering cards? Yes, they did. Um, that's not a good thing. I certainly don't want Pinkerton showing up here because of me doing some kind of review or anything. Have I gotten lambasted by the WotC team for dropping an early look at a book? Yeah, I did. They did reach out to me, and I had to delete the video. Um, it's I'm not here to shill for it. I'm here to speak honestly about my experiences with it. And at the end of the day, I am having fun playing the game Dungeons and Dragons. Again, my definition of it's a little bit different. It's not specifically uh, stuck on fifth edition or 5.5. But what have they done to get goodwill? Well, they're reaching out to the community, and I'm not talking about specifically this survey. This is one thread of them reaching out to the community. But like Cybermind has said, they're engaging with folks in their Discord. They're engaging with folks on Reddit. Whether or not you recognize Reddit as a viable source to engage is beside the point. The fact is, they are populating it with people that work at WotC and getting feedback. But we still don't have an answer for what could Wizards of the Coast do to improve your opinion of where we're headed.
I gave
Sell
you my
it.
opinion.
Yeah,
Sell it.
Fire more people.
Fire more people.
I would probably say something like just maintain or improve transparency. I think we are more forgiving of mistakes that corporates can make if we know why they made it and what they plan to do to correct it.
I do like that, and I do agree with that. Maintain transparency.
But they don't maintain transparency. They literally cultivate everything they release to the public. They
Exactly.
run it to their PR team. There is no transparency going on here. Guys, I love you guys. You guys are awesome, but come on. This is a $1 billion corporation. They lie on the daily.
Of course they lie.
And they're very good at it too. They are advised in how to lie by professional liars.
And that's the point. That's the point. By tasking them to...
Doesn't really every corporation lie? Isn't part of marketing lying?
I
did media studies. Part of it is lying.
But wait.
Because people are stupid.
Just because everybody else does it isn't a forgivable defense.
This is true.
I don't know.
So let me pose this question. Let's go on the assumption that they're just going to flat out lie to us. Okay?
Which they will.
Okay. Do you not think that those lies will come back to bite them?
No.
You don't. So they haven't they done this in the past? It has bitten them. Look at your opinion of the game right now.
So what? I wasn't their market to begin with.
Well, that's irrelevant.
There are still more people buying their stuff, supporting their stuff, and doing stuff than there are not. It's a prop. Hi, am I getting excited? I'm sorry. I apologize. If I get Beans
he's showing us his better end.
He comes and bites me on the nose to reset me so I don't get too high blood. He's like my blood pressure cat. I'm sorry.
He's so cute.
So where do we stand on this on maintain transparency?
How about improve transparency then? Be more transparent.
There you go. Be transparent.
Improve.
How about be transparent and stop marketing to us and start talking to us?
Make products.
I can agree with that.
Make products for the actual target audience. instead of, just shitting on them.
I can't believe I spelled all that correctly.
I'm impressed.
I did misspell transparency first, but I figured it out.
It's a big word. It's fine.
Transparency. He misspelled transparency.
That short, brief, I have found in stuff like this, short and brief is better.
Yeah.
Hence, die in a house fire would be my answer. But what are you going to do?
Everything's fine. When was the last time you played D&D? Within the last week, last few weeks, months, 6 months, 12 months, more than 12 months. I've never played it.
6 months for me.
Yeah, it's been within the last week for me.
Oh my goodness.
It's been almost a
We
year
play weekly.
for me, just because other issues.
Do you watch any D&D actual play shows? I don't. I've seen Critical Role once or twice.
I don't do it as much anymore, but I have seen quite a few of these. Like I've watched Oxventure, Critical Role, High Rollers, Natural Six, Dimension 20. But I don't do it anymore though, because I don't have the time. Because it's like I'm falling behind on Critical Role, and it's like to catch up would be like another 400 hours. I don't have that time.
So you should click other and put my channel,
and that's it. That's it. Thanks again. We really appreciate you taking your time. Then it kicks me out. Okay, cool.
Well, that was a productive use of my time.
I mean, it was talking,
No, we've
had literally none of my opinions carried in any of that survey, so no, it was not a productive use of my time. It was entertaining.
Well, you can go in to answer the survey.
I deleted my. I'm not.
You don't have to even have an account. You just click
I'm
on
not
a
their frickin' audience.
If you weren't blathering like with the three of us, it would probably take you 3 minutes to move through.
I'm not their audience, sir.
But do you want to be?
Not anymore. Not with the way they've been handling things, not with the way they're going. When 6th edition comes out, I'll look at it and see if it's good, but 5.5 can go die in a house fire. I do not care for it.
That's far too generous.
I love the covers on the special editions. They're beautiful. But beyond that, it's just, it's a garbage brand being produced by garbage people and being sold to a garbage market right now. It's nothing innovative going on, nothing creative going on, and absolutely nothing that is revolutionary or the way they used to be. Once upon a time, it was a revolutionary brand. It's not anymore.
So let me ask this. What would make it revolutionary? What would make it, whoa, this is cool?
The word I'm looking for, my friend, is balls. Big, old-fashioned balls to risk things. Or to put it in the words of Captain Kirk, risk. Risk is why we do this.
How does that translate into a game? Well,
4th edition was a big risk, right?
Okay, I'll give you that.
That was a big risk. But there's a lot of us who like it. There's a lot of the people in 5th edition. There's a lot more 4th edition and 5th edition than people know. And there's a huge community of people growing that are trying 4th edition going, you know what? All the stuff we heard from people saying it was garbage, it wasn't garbage. So that was risk. It did something. It didn't work for them. They executed it poorly, but it was risk. 5th edition was safe. And they're just taking the safe road all the time now. Once upon a time when Ravenloft came out, remember when Ravenloft first came out? Oh, yeah. I remember people losing their mind. The vampires, and it's just Satan. Like, they didn't care. They tried.
Yeah.
They need a bit of that back. They need a bit of those balls back. They need a little bit of the ability to say, we're going to do stuff that you might not like, but we're going to try and see if it succeeds. Not play safe.
Okay. So that's one facet. So like a new original hardcore setting.
Oh my God, no. They suck at settings.
Well, that's what Ravenloft was.
Ravenloft was a module.
Okay, that it was turned into a setting.
Yes, and then it became a money machine, and it got garbagey again. But when it first came out, it was an adventure, and it was interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
El Kadim was a setting that had balls, but you're never going to see that get published anymore. Stop apologizing for the past. Just say it blanketly as a corporate statement. We cannot change time. Therefore, we're moving forward. Stop yelling at us about stuff that was published 30 years ago.
Yeah.
40 years ago.
That sort of
Fire
nailed it.
every sensitivity reader they have. Show them the door.
Drag them out in the street and shoot them for the good
No,
of
but
society.
that's a bit much.
I like Mr. Welch's comment here to sell stuff to adults that was designed for adults.
Okay,
I think that
get
sums
it. I'm
it
being
up.
excitable. I'm sorry. I was being excitable. I'm so sorry. Yes, no, Mr. Welch is usually pretty right on this, even though we don't agree on
Yeah.
everything.
Do you trust modern WotC to do Dark Sun? No. The answer is a resounding no. Not only no, but hell no, I don't trust them to do it right.
Especially not the I can't remember the module. The people that did that supposedly are the ones that want to take a stab at it.
Hey, here's another idea. Crazy idea. This is crazy. Stop
Katie.
living in the past and recycling all the garbage and making it worse with your modern eye, and let it exist as itself and make new interesting shit.
They're
So
literally
you said
living and
I'm
dying
going to
on
agree with
nostalgia
that.
fumes.
You know, I disagree with Bear a lot, but I'm going to agree with him on that one because, well, yeah, it is what it is. Because they need new ideas, not just to keep redoing the same shit every time.
Yeah.
Dear God, I agree. When I heard they were taking another stab at Greyhawk, I was like, why? Why are you doing this? Why?
Because it's a recognized name. That's
it's
why.
Safe.
Yeah. Well, it's like this comment. They're forced to play it safe by reason of being a big corporation with investors.
It's nostalgia, and nostalgia sells. That is the sole reason.
Yeah.
It just comes with a built-in audience, presumably.
But it isn't, because they're not selling. Therefore, the built-in audience is gone.
Yeah, they've lost that, but they had that for several years, but they've just milked it dry to where nobody trusts them of that block.
Yeah.
Like Star Wars or Indiana Jones or all of those other sorts of things that I've cited as being wonderful examples to look at and learn from.
Well, and I think, just to go off on a slight tangent, because you brought up the term Star Wars, this newest trilogy, the J.J. Abrams trilogy, the 7, 8, and 9. How do you purchase an IP for billions of dollars and decide to make a movie and not have a 3-movie plan?
Well, let's take it back a step. How do you buy Marvel and Star Wars as a corporate concept of we need to expand into male markets and bring in a male audience, because all we do is generate female audience with our Princess Disney stuff, and then immediately turn it into female-led, feminized stuff and start disregarding the males that they wanted to bring in as the audience? That's a pretty bonehead move.
It is.
That was pretty stupid.
I'm not going to pretend that I will confirm that a lot of that is activist investors who want certain things to happen. That has nothing to do with benefiting the company. That's investors that want a place at a table. They don't care about losses, and you see a lot of that. But the reality is that what was Star Wars? I can't remember how much it initially cost, but I know they still have not recouped their money.
$4-point-something billion.
Yes.
Yep, they still have not recouped all of their money from that. They probably won't. There is to the credit
and they made the brand toxic.
And to the credit of, quite honestly, one of the best ways to compete with WotC would be to, if you can start with somebody visible that can actually help you in market and bring in at least that value of marketing if you don't have the funds, would just to be, have a marketing campaign that was absolutely nothing more and nothing less than absolutely mocking the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Just use their own content against them.
Okay. So I want to go around the panel here. Let's say we're way off in out there land with this question, but Bear, let's say, and you've kind of already answered this, but let's say WotC comes in and says, "Hey, Bear, we're hiring you to be president of WotC. Turn us around. Tell us what needs to happen. Your salary is, I don't know, say $5.5 million a year."
Is there a question in there?
Yeah. Turn us around. What do you do?
Okay, obey my cat. That's what you do. You obey my cat. Obey him. Obey Beans. He will set
Okay,
you
so
right.
Beans
agree.
gets 4.9 million a year. You get 100,000.
Okay, that's perfect. I love this plan. I don't know, man. At this point in time, I don't think it's salvageable. I think it's a the cuts and changes they would have to make are so anathema to their corporate mindset that they will not be able to do them. They wouldn't have the wherewithal. But my number one statement would be grow a pair of balls and make some risky choices and show the community that you're becoming adventurous again. How the fuck do you sell a product based around adventure when you're not adventurous? That's like someone being a baker that doesn't eat bread. I'm not going to trust their product. You know?
What if they're diabetic?
Well, then they get the low carb bread. I don't know. I'll buy that from them because at least I know they're eating that. You know what I mean? Come on.
Cybermine.
Start
Same
over.
question.
Tear it down, burn it down, rebuild it.
Rebuild it. Gotcha. Cybermine, same question.
I'm going to be very, very different because I actually like 5th edition. I'm the minority here. Because I played 3rd, 3.5, 4th, and 5th, and 5.5. And for me, 5th edition has been the best one for me. So I know I'm weird here. I do agree that they need to be more adventurous. I do agree that they need to come up with new settings that are not just rehashes what they've previously done. They do need to try different mechanics, create a module or something that's going to have different mechanics, different just differences. I'm not against the whole anti-woke thing because some of it I like, some of it I don't, and people use the term woke way too much. Some of it is good, too much is bad. But I don't think they need the what they call them, sensitivity people. I think at some point they just need to realize, make the game for nerds like they're supposed to. Because at the moment they're trying to make it for everyone, and it's just not working. This is a game for nerds. We're all nerds here.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you're young or old. We are nerds. You're
Are you offended by that, Bear? No,
because there is a strong difference between nerd and geek.
Oh, whatever.
I agree.
I've
Big difference.
I agree.
Okay, now see, the moment that we start talking about nerds and geeks, or nerds, the difference between nerds versus geeks, you're starting to go down that woke road now. Come on.
Well, but okay, hang on.
No.
Hang on. How about instead of saying we're marketing to nerds and geeks, we're marketing to our base? How about we stop categorizing everybody as little market groups that we want to sell to and just sell to the people who want our damn product?
I'm not saying that that's the slogan, is that we are now selling to nerds. I'm just saying,
that'd be amazing. You know what? I'd buy their shit if their slogan was "We're for nerds." I'd be like, you know what? That's ballsy. I'll take a chance.
But I'm just saying that when D&D first came along, it wasn't really trying to be for everyone. It was just kind of, this is a system.
Yeah.
Play around. It is what it is. But now they seem to be trying to make it as accessible and as generic as possible. And it's losing some of the identity, some of that spark that it used to have. So I just think bring it a little bit more back to, who your player base is. Nerds, geeks, whatever you want to call them. Don't necessarily call them that. I don't care. But just, who that's the stereotype, I suppose, of who you're looking for. Try to bring it back more to that, because most people that you're trying to market to are just not going to care.
It'll wear off, Warhammer. Trust me.
Goths, same question to you.
Oh boy.
In 5 words or less. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
All right. Whoa.
That's 2. That's 3.
Oh shit. There's
You're done.
But
thank you.
The reality is that except honestly, come in first off, be startled that they would want me there, fire everybody, and then once I rehire everybody, completely different. The reality is that the target market audience for this historically is a group of people that, put simply, looks at their current target audience with such open disdain that there is no real overlap. I would sort of
Right.
burn the bridges built, target the original audience, go after men, make things specifically for the sensibilities of the current generation of young men, which is startlingly similar. Not like there's an age gap in there, probably up to 29 and then 40 and up, where like you've got a 10-year gap in there, but you would be looking at a group of people who have kids and would introduce it to them. And you are looking at a group of people who are growing in financial relevance. So that would probably be the course forward,
Okay.
because that
So
20 to 30 crowd has a lot of problems, both economic viability wise and a decided lack of children to actually, increase your market with.
hey, listen, as a 52-year-old guy, I've gone through my fair share of being financially challenged. Currently being financially challenged. I mean,
Right there with you.
but I mean, who hasn't at some point yet? And that this is the big core thing to keep in mind. Assume they do push out a sixth edition, okay, or a 5.75 edition, or they keep with 5.5 and they push out 50 new books. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to run out and buy every single one of them. We
That
can play the game competently with no books.
And therefore, you are not their audience.
Right.
true. The catch though with that older demographic is that they tend to be the ones that have the most disposable income, so they are financially the most valuable to the survival of any
But
kind
at
of
a certain
business.
point, they have to recycle that customer base because, as Bear pointed out, we are dying off.
Yep. And that's why you go after the young people, where
Right.
you've got an age gap in there, but you have two sets of people you can target as opposed to only one.
Right.
So much broader, much more longevity for any kind of product. Yeah, I'm the boring old man, I guess.
Oh my God, I'm so bored. No, you're right, though. That's the problem. You're
No, I
absolutely
mean, it's,
100%
yeah,
right.
it's like what Bear's saying. I mean, they're good words. And I mean, it's logic. I mean, it makes logical sense. I think the unfortunate part is I think that a lot of the decisions being made don't necessarily fall into the realm of logic.
Well, okay, but hang on. We are one aspect of our generation in this hobby.
Right.
Okay, one aspect. I float between the communities as much as I can because I'm a very centrist person at the end of the day when it comes to
Right.
my sort of feelings on things, right? I think the new school people have some good ideas. I think the old school people have some good ideas. I think both have colossal amounts of stupid ideas, but that's the way it is. WotC needs to be paying attention to the people who aren't, for lack of a better expression, sucking their dick right now. They need to
Mhm.
go out and say, well, why did these people leave and go play OSC? Why did these people leave and go back Shadow Dark? Why did these people leave? And that's what they need. They no longer need to ask themselves, where's our audience? They need to go, why did our audience leave? And look into it from that. And then do some damn research and get people out there to find these answers and come back to them and go, look, this is what the consensus is. This, and then pick the top 5 things and start over from that point of view, going, well,
I,
these are the 5 issues we'll address.
I got to throw something out as well in this. The entire industry could combine all of it together, and it's worth peanuts for
I
most
agree.
big companies.
Yeah.
It's not something where, there's all that much money to be made. So, I mean, if somebody was really wanting to target this, I won't go into too much detail, but you would need to also throw in the 40K crowd with what you're putting out, because they are your closest audience as far as what you are presenting, as crazy as it is.
No. But while you're doing that, please don't take the game design / marketing statements of Games Workshop as a way to behave. Please.
Oh God, no! Oh God, no!
Please.
I mean,
Well, we
I,
could
I,
go off on a 4-hour tangent just on them. So,
I mean, GW has so many problems, but what all I'm getting at is that you have an overlap. Just tabletop wargaming in general has a very tethered history to the TTRPG industry.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of overlap there in potential market. And I mean, what was it? wotc did a Final Fantasy release for Magic. And what was their big money maker? That was probably a third of Hasbro's total
Yeah.
revenue.
That
And
and
what
Spider-Man.
that one, to my understanding, didn't sell as well. The Final Fantasy, though, they sold out of pre-orders.
Yeah.
Like that's an entirely different level of hitting your audience.
So just a question. If they've been listening to one side for 5-8 years now and killing their brand, and we know the other side's extreme levels are absolutely insane and insanity, like some of the stuff I see from that crowd also makes me go, wow. Is there not a rational sense to say that in the margins is where they want to exist?
No.
Oh.
Culture war impacts everything.
Yeah, but you don't
Same.
have to play the culture war. That's the point.
They already
Someone
did.
has to step out. Someone has to step out. Why don't they step out and set a new path, blaze a new trail?
It would require a new company because they've already
Fair.
harmed themselves.
Fair.
They
So my statement of burn it down, rebuild it was the right one. Yay, I win.
Burn it down, rebuild with a new brand, or
Yep.
or make public example of make your make firings very visible, make it clear why you're going to alienate present audience, but you are going to draw approval from those outside the margins, and presently those outside the margins are much larger in number. And if you're a for-profit enterprise, big number good.
Yeah.
Then why don't they see that? Let it die. I like that, Buster. Let it die.
Yeah, you have to
them
play to
die.
profits.
Yeah.
I mean, quite honestly, even if they were overprinting the Magic, I'm sympathetic to that because shareholders are the ones who, at the end of the day, they are beholden to. If I give somebody money to make me money, I expect them damn well to make me money. Like that's literally how that works. So honestly, they have a corporate holding has to at least give the appearance they're trying to make money. And at the end of the day, though, most of the smaller decisions boil down to a held company, which is why I've held wotc to be more liable.
It sounds like a hostage situation. All the way to say it. To go back to your earlier question, Brian, if I were to say one thing to them with a 5.5 million or whatever the hell salary it was, and I'm in charge,
Yeah.
I must break you.
I must break you. Yeah.
I must break you.
I mean, honestly, if it was like a 5.5 position for a company the size of wotc, I'd be wondering what the hell their major malfunction was for paying me that much. Like, why are you wasting so much of your budget on this when you take away, $2 million of that, you've still got a hell of a salary.
So,
and you've got other things you can spend it on.
Several years ago, I worked for a marketing company, and it was a consulting gig for a marketing company. They sent me out to a customer client, and they were asking me all these questions like, what can we do to increase our, our sales and our product, and what are some ideas you have, and how can we improve this? And I told them straight up, I said, listen, I'm happy to help and assist with all of this, but first you have to define your customer base. That's the key word. You have to define your customer base, and then go out and ask them what they want. Don't ask me. I don't know what your product is. And I think that's what wotc's failing has been, is that they have been trying to define their own customer base instead of going out and asking, or instead of defining what they're looking at their numbers and going, oh, our customer base is this. Let's go out and ask them what they want. They just somebody came in and decided, our customer base is this, without any research, without any rhyme or reason. And they just all collectively started making content for whatever that customer base is. And obviously it didn't work.
Come on.
So
I
did
think
Disney. So did
yeah, yeah,
Hollywood
yeah,
in general. Like they all
yeah,
fell from the same. They all went with the same route, and
right.
we've had 10 years of that not working. But maybe I mean that's not too much time. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
I'm maybe. Yeah. He says Watsy thinks everyone online is their customer base. Yeah, I mean, well, Hasbro, I think
Oh,
that's what Hasbro thinks is anybody that has
Kitty.
cash in their purse or in their wallet, they think that that's their customer base.
For those who don't know,
I mean,
this is not
I
the
don't
same
think they
cat.
think.
This is a new cat. You good? Yeah.
He's a
I
big
don't
goof.
think they think that everybody online. I think Reddit is. I think they think Reddit is their customer
It
base.
could be.
Like that's
Well, I mean, at the
that's
end of the
my
day, I mean,
take.
there are a lot of us out there that are banging at the gates with pitchforks and torches, and it's it's like that because we had a value, we had an emotional attachment, we had a passion and a love for a game that was systematically changed, altered, and adjusted away from what we traditionally knew. Um, I like change, but there's also the saying that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think that the situation here is they went for a good long many a years in shifting and trying to fix something that wasn't necessarily broke.
I think a lot of that can be attributed to being part of a corporate structure. Uh, the reality with anything touched by that is that shareholder does not make money if value remains the same. And I think I think early on, as things shifted, they sort of developed the mindset of growth mandatory, fast growth mandatory. Otherwise,
Oh, I
shareholder
think
not
yeah,
happy.
I agree 100%. That's definitely what Hasbro came in and you know they put the thumbtacks to their fingernails on that one. You make money. Shareholders need money, and
Yeah.
I guess part of me we'll rank it up to me being naive. Okay, but my view has been if I'm going to run a company, I'm going to identify who is spending the money with me the most, and that's who I want to target. That's who I want to cater to. There's nothing to say that I can't move some resources to cater to a new audience, but I'm not going to alienate my current audience. I'm not going to alienate the people that give me money currently. And maybe that's part of it. I mean, I haven't seen, none of us have seen the numbers behind the scenes, but maybe that's what it was. Maybe we stopped giving them money.
I just don't think even the
I don't
whole
either.
industry market is large enough
Well, it could be.
to actually eat into something that would appeal to shareholders.
That's
Well,
possible.
that's why they're licensing out the
Like
stuff
even
to
if you
gambling.
even
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, like that's going to be more profitable. What was it? BG3 was more profitable probably than most anything else to come beforehand, just because all of that was revenue.
Well, and they likely had a
I mean,
caveat in there of like some kind of profit sharing.
oh yeah, they probably got
Yeah.
30%. That most likely the case. 30% of all profits went to them. I mean, things like that just make more
Yeah.
sense. They would be better off if they stopped producing anything in house other than a basic rule set and letting, just creating essentially a Steam for
Yeah.
TTRPGs. Like that, like that's literally the closest thing you could do. It's not as effective to create content as it is to just control the
Right.
marketplace, and that's literally where they could actually win
Well, so
with their
that
value
leaves me with the final
activity.
question. Have we resolved anything? Have we solved anything? Have
God,
we
no.
That's an easy answer. Of course not. We could have this conversation every day for a month and we'd never answer it.
We
Um,
need to know the sales figures. We need to know the actual projections. We're speculating as people who were just here
Right.
sitting at home, in my case, on my bed with a laptop. We're not the ones who are looking at sales reports, spreadsheets, the databases, the market research that they spend. I mean, we can conjecture all that, but we need the actual data to make any real informed decision, and we don't have that information.
Yeah. But it is fun to conjecture based on the information that is out there. And
Oh, it is, yeah.
that's what we've been doing, and checking out stuff like the survey and that so the hidden thing behind the survey, and I think all four of us recognize it, and I think everybody in the chat recognized it too. The hidden thing about the survey is that gives us an insight to their climate, what they're thinking, the questions that they're asking, that's what they think the issue is. And so that allows us to approach the discussion about the game and the future of its, of where it's going with a little bit more ammunition about the direction we want it to go, if that makes any sense.
Personally, I thought it was just a feel-good moment for the company. Oh, we care.
Oh,
I don't know.
Give you all these
I put
vague
no
questions.
weight on this survey at all.
Yeah, I'm not going to put too much weight on it. I think that if it's overwhelmingly negative, I think that will definitely carry some weight with it. Uh, I don't think that they would be expecting it to be an all positive thing.
Okay, look at when they
I
started.
mean, there's also
Sorry, go ahead.
there's also a target audience for things like that. How many of the
Right.
people that they've lost are actually going to go fill it out?
How many people did
Or
they
even
bring
bother
back?
knowing
Remember
about
during D&D Next when they were doing the 5th edition development?
hmm
How many people did you know? I knew a ton who were old school D&D players. They liked 2nd edition more than anything else, probably, that went in and were participating. And slowly but surely, they got drowned out and drowned out and drowned out. And all the stuff that was cool about D&D 5e, the modularity, the this, the that, you'll be able to use your old modules, that vanished down to this thing. Now, I like basic 5th edition. I've said this many, many times. I think they blew it out of the water after Xanathars. It's all garbage as far as I'm concerned, but they were trying something different. But the problem is that they alienated people through that entire process, and they're very good at that as a company. They're very good at alienating the market base in favor of some market they believe exists out there. And they got lucky with COVID and Stranger Things. Everyone says Critical Role. I disagree. Stranger Things did more to bring people into D&D than Critical Role. They might have discovered Critical Role once they went in,
Right.
but that was a huge thing for them. They don't have that anymore. They
Right.
don't have that kind of avenue. So they need to start looking at the market they lost and seeing if they can recapture a portion of it to increase their revenue base. They won't. They'll never do it, but
Yeah.
that's what they need to do.
I don't think that market can be recaptured. I think they've been alienated too much.
That's fair too. But
I don't even. I think that's the limit. I think they might try, but
Well, and that's what I see. I mean, I see that this is an attempt, whether it's a hollow attempt or not remains to be seen, but I think that this is at least an attempt to, as we pointed out, to steer the ship in the right direction. I think that they have, or let me at least phrase it this way. I think that they have at least recognized that they have stepped in shit and now have to get that shit off their shoe before they walk in the house.
yeah, but the problem is they're debating what kind
I
of shit
don't.
it is. That's the problem with WotC's mentality. That's the problem with the corporate mentality is they're going, hey, we stepped in shit. Well, was it rabbit shit? Was it goat shit? What kind of shit was it? I don't know. Let's find out. And they're so obsessed with the shit they stepped in.
Yeah.
They're not cleaning their fucking shoes.
Yeah.
I really have to throw out again that if they actually cared, they would offer precise questions. Whenever you put out a poll, whenever you put out a survey, there are a lot of people out there paid a lot of money to word
Yeah.
questions precisely. And I've assembled those kinds of polls before, and everything in that was without question the most bland, not to the point stuff they could ask that could be, interpreted as,
Interpreted. That's the word.
Yeah.
it could be interpreted however they want for whatever end they want to make it appeal to shareholders.
Case in point, exactly how we entered in with the very first question. How do you feel about the game Dungeons and Dragons? I mean, what as a brand, as an addition? You know, I mean, it's how did we interpret it?
I mean, even just having something where you show different art pieces and say, which of these do you prefer?
Yeah.
Or asking something completely irrelevant that, it could derive benefit to,
Yeah.
understanding your
Should
audience. I mean,
pineapple
even
be on
something
a
like
pizza?
this.
Yes.
No.
If you like pineapple on pizza, yes.
Yeah.
If you like it, yeah. But for me,
The
the hell no.
I mean, the thing that this did not ask, it did not ask male or female. It did not I could ask age, but did not ask a lot of questions that could be very relevant to understanding your audience,
Yep.
such as college education, things of that nature, where it's like, okay, that's personal. But if you're going to understand an audience, if you're going to understand a market, that is information you
How
need.
about
There
just
is a
which versions of D&D have you played and rate them on how much you like them? That would help a lot, because then they could look at past
that
and go,
Yeah.
oh,
would
but no, they didn't do that. This is a bullshit survey from a bullshit placeholder. This guy that you keep mentioning, Ayub or whatever his name is,
Dan
this
Ayub,
guy,
yeah.
Dan, he is a placeholder. He is there to make the ship not go into the iceberg. That's all he's there to
Possibly.
do.
Possibly.
that's basically it. I mean, I even said whenever you did your first video on that guy that this is just PR. It's all
Yep.
bullshit.
Yeah.
And it was, and nothing has changed. Companies say shit. Companies lie. It's part of playing the game, and I don't fault a company for playing the game, given that they were not the ones who made it what it is. It's something they have to do to even have an appearance of relevance.
Yeah.
But that it does not change the reality of the situation, that it's going to be completely ignored, going to be presented in whatever makes them feel the best, and then shown to shareholders, be like, look, we're doing a good job, don't get rid of us. Like,
So
that's all
what
it's there
what
for.
it sounds like to me is, yes, okay, great. The survey is out there, but it's likely not going to amount to a hill of beans.
The contents of it don't allow it
Right.
to. You can't extrapolate any good information from that. The only thing that might be useful is the only thing I would point in that is useful would be looking at age,
Which they
and to
did.
basically
Yeah.
see the percentage of traffic. They asked age in that, I
They did.
believe.
That was, yeah,
You
one
entered
of the first
age,
questions. Yeah.
and then that's going to tell me the age bracket that
The demographic. Yeah.
you know
That's actually taking the
that
time to answer this. Yeah.
actually comes from. And then I would, and as well as a quantity of people that actually do it, to show some kind of
Yeah.
attentiveness of traffic. Those are the two things, and one of them's not a question. It's just extrapolated by number of
Right.
responses.
And it's the fact is that most of them are set up in agree, disagree, strongly agree, or strongly disagree. So
And
they'll be able
and
to
yeah,
extrapolate, like, uh, people, and it didn't specify male or female, but people around the age of 50 strongly or strongly disagree with people that are 20 to 25 strongly agree or agree with I think that's what they'll be able to extrapolate out of it. I don't know how useful that's ultimately going to be.
the a good example in this. I don't know if enough money is spent on this in Canada, but somewhat related as far as extrapolating, getting information on a product,
Mhm.
is looking at the kinds of pollsters that call people during election seasons, and they go through 20, 30 questions, and each of these are usually there's add-on questions to each, where behind the scenes they are asking a secondary question. For example, do you like candidate A? Very
Hmm.
much, somewhat, not at all, and I hate him,
Mhm.
for example. But then there's the follow-up is, if I tell you this, how would you feel about? And that's something that actually leads to a difference. And it can lead to a difference both in presentation or in, end results, usually just in presentation. But they're not even able to generate much from this that alters how they present themselves. And this is a free online survey. They are not asking people to stay on a phone for 20 minutes. They're
Right.
asking them to click a button. They're not getting a broad spectrum of people to apply, because they're not actually grading, you know, they're not qualifying the people that are actually taking it.
No, they're just trying to
There's
get an
no
idea.
kinds of
They're trying to get a
qualification
feel
there.
for I personally, what I got out of it is they're trying to get a feel for the people that are going to take the time to sit down and actually fill it out.
That's quite literally all I
Yeah.
got from it. That's the only thing I can see them actually deriving from it, because everything else is just useless.
I just want to mention they have done these in-depth surveys before, and
If I-
they got a lot of
yeah.
complaints about them.
Yeah.
So they got a lot. Whereas
Well-
this survey seemed to be more. We're just testing the waters. Are we going somewhere in the right direction? Yes or no?
Right.
And
Well,
that
what
seemed to
was
be
it?
what it is.
They did a survey that was based on some of the unearthed arcana material. This was a couple of years back, and oh hell, it had to have been at least 120 questions.
I think I remember that
Easy.
one.
Yeah. And the thing, though, is that if you are going to be actually address something, that's the way that has to be done. Anything else is just so indecisive. Getting opinion from someone is something that can actually be quantified.
Right.
And something like this, how do you feel, is one of those
Right.
things. So you need to, basically, you have to hammer home, try to derive your point by asking those follow-ups to see what they are talking about
Well, see, I think-
and what is driving that opinion, more so than just a broad opinion. Because, you can say you don't like something, but it doesn't tell them why.
Right.
And they have to understand the why.
Right.
That is the important bit.
Well,
See, the
guys,
thing
we're
is-
coming up on the 2-hour mark. Cybermind, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say that when it comes to surveys, the problem is if you want a big in-depth survey, it's going to be great feedback. It's going to give you a lot of information. A small percent are actually going to take that survey, because most people this day and age are not going to sit down for 20, 30 to an hour, however many minutes,
Right.
filling in this big survey. Whereas this survey gives them just enough to give a bit of a test of waters, and it's done in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So in this ADHD
As
filled
somebody who's,
time,
as someone,
it's going to be a lot more easier to swallow for the whole fan base for a small survey than an in-depth one that's only 1% of people are actually going to do.
Yeah.
as someone who has done those things professionally, it's not all that hard to get people to share their opinions. In fact, they're very eager to have people
Well,
ask them about them.
Keep in mind
So
that
it works. If you
that last little box did ask for opinions. So, of course, you're limited to 200 words, but still.
Yeah,
So I want to go back around again. I want to thank everybody for joining in, but I want to give all my panelists the final words here before I do my little sign off. Goths, do you have any final words you want to impart with everybody?
the end is nigh.
The end is nigh. Gotcha. Cybermind, any last words? Anything you want to promote, push, or talk about?
No, not really. I'm just going to say that it's easy to say burn the company down and stuff, but sometimes it's not as simple as what we're seeing. You know, they have got a lot of things they have to figure out in terms of keeping their jobs, keeping the base satisfied,
Yeah.
getting new targets in, because the world is changing. The same
yeah.
people who played D&D 20 years ago are not the same people playing D&D now, and if they don't change, they're going to go bankrupt. So you can't completely fault them for every decision they make that we don't like, because some of it has to be driven by profit. Otherwise, they will cease to be. We'll get no more D&D books that we like, and they'll just go away. Is that really better?
Yeah, I see that as valid. Bear?
Yeah, it's easy to say burn it down, burn it down, burn it, salt the earth, burn it to the ground, salt the earth, and move your headquarters out of fucking Seattle. Dear God, get away from that cesspool of right think, and maybe go touch grass in the Midwest again, which is where D&D started, where people actually aren't agendized all the time, and see if your company's attitude changes real fucking quick, because I bet it will.
No, I meant like, did you have any final words, like anything?
Yeah,
you
those are
wanted
my
to
final
promote?
words. Those are my
Nothing you want to
final
promote?
words. No, dude, you know I don't shill. Come on.
No, I don't either. As I say, I say I don't shill, but watch me about to shill.
Go for it.
So again, I want to thank everybody for joining in. I want to thank all the people, the panelists, Goths, Cybermind, Bear. Thanks you for coming in. I want to thank everybody in the comments for commenting. that goes for both on my channel as well as Bear's channel. I also want to let everybody know that this weekend, Saturday, I believe Saturday, I am going to be interviewing the guy that created the Evermorph Cube. So that should be fun. But if you want to check it out, I mean, it's a Rubik's Cube that you can infinitely change dungeon tiles on. Something like 461 quintillion different configurations for it. So that's this weekend. So be sure to tune in. But aside from that, again, I want to thank everyone for joining. And until next our paths cross, I'll see you on the other side of the cube.